Welcome back to another episode where author and trial lawyer Rick Friedman shares his insights and techniques to having success in the courtroom. This video is episode 5 of 6, which means if you haven't seen the previous episodes, we got to catch you up to speed, so I'll provide links in the description down below, so be sure to check those out. Speaking of which, whenever you do go down in the description, you'll also see links to Rick's books and other resources that are mentioned during this 6-episode series. Now, I want to ask you to do one simple thing. If you find yourself liking this video, then please hit the like button down below. Doing so allows the video to rank higher, reach more people, and ultimately help more people, and that's always the goal. With all that out of the way, let's get back into the interview with Rick Friedman. I hope you enjoy.
Humor is a difficult, dangerous thing in the courtroom, especially for plaintiff lawyers. Again, you're just trying to tell us how badly your client's hurt or how this father got killed, and you're here joking around. I mean, it's the defense that wants this to just look like all a game. Either a pissing contest between lawyers or all just a good old boy, pleasant, joking, non-serious game we're playing. So I tend to be pretty serious, but relaxed. I think plaintiff lawyers get so on edge that it looks like they don't have faith in their case. And really what it is they don't have faith in themselves, but it looks like they don't have faith in their cases. So wow, I guess I'm thinking that you may be overthinking this a little bit in terms of how to be in the, I wouldn't be trying to micromanage. Impression management, I think, should go out the window. Like, I am just a garden hose putting water on the garden. Like, are we really going to spend time analyzing the hose? Get yourself the hell out of there.
That's wild. That's eye-opening for me to hear, because during law school training, it's like micromanage everything during mock trial. Like, you're even being graded on how you're behaving when you're not even part of what's going on in the transaction, as you're sitting behind the table. And so it's like, oh, it's all about me. Everyone's watching me all the time.
Well, and there's truth to that. That is the paradox. That's what I'm trying, and it's very hard to convey because they are watching you. But if what is it you don't, if we were doing a long 3-hour session with you only, we'd be looking at what is it you don't want the jury to see about yourself. And, we'd spend some time with your history and, that there, and if you get to the point where you're comfortable making mistakes, being not perfect, there's this great exercise I saw Josh Carton do once. He's a jury consultant who very well known. So it's in a crowded CLE room. He takes a glass of water, fills it to the top, puts it 50 feet across the room, blindfolds first says to somebody, go pick up that glass of water and bring it back and put it on the table. So they walk the 50 feet, pick up the glass, put it on the table. Everybody watches. And then he says, okay, let's do it again. And this time he puts a blindfold on the person. And you got to do this without spilling a drop. So now the person's like on the floor on their hands and knees, walking slowly. Everybody's glued to, is he going to find this? Is he going to spill it? And the stumbles that we make in the courtroom are kind of like that. They add interest and humanness to what we're doing, and people pay more attention rather than to a perfect performance. But boy, to let other people see us as not perfect, many of us went to law school so we could get in front of people and perform and have them all admire us. And, there are a handful of people who are really, really good at that. But for the rest of us, it's we're kind of left with who we are. And I am firmly convinced that virtually everyone who wants to be a trial lawyer has certain hidden gifts that they can bring to the courtroom. But the reason those gifts are hidden is because they're working so hard to present this, their idealized version of themselves in the courtroom.
As a lawyer who, in my situation, owns my own small law firm, and I think there's a handful of people in the law of entry community that do as well. You have
Mm-hmm.
to balance personal branding, right, in order to sell yourself while also trying to keep that ego intact. But in your situation, it seems even a step further, because not only are you a lawyer and successful at your firm, but you're also an author of all these books, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, how do you reconcile the ego side of things and also everything you've accomplished?
Well, how many people do you think are going to know your name or my name 200 years from now?
Oh, that's a great question, and the answer is probably zero, right?
Right.
More
Yeah.
more so
So
probably more people knowing you than
yeah,
me, but
not in 200 years, it's all done.
uh-huh.
And so that's why I was saying earlier about the dysfunction of this culture we're all
Hmm.
swimming in, is that it holds up to us false gods that we're supposed to be chasing, more
Yeah.
money, more fame, more admiration. I'm certainly not the first person to say that, but
Hmm.
I've watched how it has corroded people's ability to present cases.
Hmm.
That it's become all about, in the old days, and I can say this because I was in a small town for a while, and I imagine like 100 years ago, this was even more true. Trial lawyers would step in, they'd try cases only in their own community. They'd know most of the people on the jury, or at least know people who knew those people.
Hmm.
You couldn't hide from yourself. If you got into court and strutted around in a way that was at odds with how people knew you, you would pay a price. And so, but now it's all about, how many people have liked me on Facebook lately.
Yeah.
And, it's like we're encouraged to be more and more narcissistic and more concerned with public performance and less concerned with what's going on inside. And so, yeah, I don't, that's why I wrote that last book,
Yeah.
The Way of the Trial Lawyer, because I think we've really gone off course and it's hurting not only the case results, but people's enjoyment of the practice of law. If you think every case is a life or death referendum on your value as a human,
Hmm.
you are going to have a miserable career. I
Hmm.
mean, you may win cases, but you're going to feel miserable for the rest of your working life if everything is a referendum on you as a person, or you as how smart am I, how charming am I, how beautiful am I, whatever the
Hmm.
issues are. You're going to drive yourself crazy. And that's what I see most people doing,
Yeah.
especially young. I shouldn't say especially young lawyers. I guess I just feel more sorry for them because they're getting less and less guidance about these kind of issues.
Where are you located? Washington right now?
Yeah.
So I'm curious on what the Washington culture is when it comes to lawyers advertising. Like Texas is pretty
we're,
ridiculous. Yeah.
we're not as bad as Texas or Florida, but there's certainly, a fair amount of advertising.
Okay.
And whatever question you're going to ask me about that, I'm probably the worst person to ask because I don't, we haven't advertised. Many really good lawyers do.
Hmm.
Anyway, I don't know what you're going to ask me about
Yeah,
advertising,
no.
but
So, I mean,
yeah.
it kind of comes down to, in today's age, it feels like you need to have an image. And if it's that Atticus Finch image, or if it's, in Texas, everyone has, I'm the Texas this, I'm the Texas that, right?
Hmm.
As like a slogan and a point of power.
Hmm.
But I've been trying to stay away from that. At the same time, it's like, okay, am I trying to grow my firm a little less naturally instead of word of mouth? Because 100% of my cases come in word of mouth. And I've loved that. But it's also like, am I self sabotaging by not trying to make more noise? And is the only way to make more noise to create this bigger persona than what I'm trying to keep at bay and keep down? Do you have any experience with that or any thoughts on that?
Well, one thought is, there's some old saying about, don't believe your own press releases or something like
Yeah.
that. I mean, if a lawyer decides they need to project a certain image to the public in order to get more cases and be successful in that business, I don't have a problem with that. But you need to not confuse the image you're selling with your actual personhood,
Yeah.
or how you're going to appear in court. Because yeah, I mean, you could say I do employment cases. I'm the Texas employment lawyer. I fight for you, you know, against big bad employers, or whatever your marketing message is. That's all fine.
Yeah.
But if you hold it at a distance, like, you know, hold it lightly, as they
Yeah.
say, you know, it's people trying to, yeah, I mean, in a way, that's if you internalize that too much, you're rejecting your own humanity, your own humanness.
Yeah. And honestly, that was very enlightening as I was reading through this book, because that's what it's really touching on, is, you know, getting to know you and or yourself. So here's a question then, because everything you're talking about is pretty stoic, is the sense I get. When you have a sizable verdict, or you just have a good outcome at trial, and one thing that was eye-opening is you kind of, in the way of the trial lawyer, shoot from the hip a little bit, that ultimately concludes that, I'm oversimplifying for those that are watching right now, that about 90% of cases for plaintiffs fail, or to some degree are a loss, right?
Yeah.
So
if they go to trial.
If they go to trial, yeah. And so given that, do you experience just, okay, another day at the office, or is there a sense of relief because you evaluate the case and you're like, this is what it should be getting, and then, okay, we got that? Or is there a little bit of euphoria going on because it's like, yeah, you know, and not the 90%, but we're the 10% here. Where are your emotions at post-trial?
You know, originally I would just feel relief that I hadn't lost. If I hadn't
Okay.
lost, you know, it was a sense of relief. Not joy or celebration, just a sense of relief that I
Yeah.
hadn't lost. And then if I did lose, you know, disappointment, sometimes anger at the jury. I mean, all kinds of stuff in the past. Um, but I think I put the quote in one of these books from a guy named Gail Frades, who was a great trial lawyer in Alaska, who used to say, I don't laugh when I win, so I don't have to cry when I lose.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's back to this ego thing. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I was a fire hose. I did my job as a fire hose. That was what I was designed to be. I did it. I feel a certain satisfaction. You know, it went well. I like the creative aspects of, you know, how am I going to frame these issues in a way that threads the needle of this difficult case and winds up with, you know, there's a certain satisfaction in that creativity and that winning. And if the other sides have been total jerks, there's a certain, you know, satisfaction in rubbing their nose in that, I have to admit. But mostly, this is not for me, you know, after 30 plus years, somewhere in there, after 30 plus years, I realized I couldn't keep doing this if this was all about me. It's just too tiring. It's just too. Now, I guess if I were an extrovert and a narcissist, you know, it wouldn't matter. I'm in front of people. I'm getting all this. Who cares? But for my personality, if this is a referendum on my goodness, my smartness, my ability, my entitlement to walk this earth, you know, that's too much. I can't keep going into trial and risking that every single time. I'm going to collapse over time.
One thing I did notice in the book is there were references to being able to take time off, right? Like, I earned this. Like, this is something that I've been working hard on this case. The case is over, so let's reward myself, and almost having a reflective period. Is that something that you practice?
No, of course not. No, I mean, no, I guess I would say I don't remember that section in the book, to tell you the truth. But the idea of self-care,
Yeah.
that, well, I think most trial lawyers are attracted to trial work because of traumatic events in their history that they may not even perceive as traumatic, and from a place of compulsion. Like I know there was a public defender in Alaska who was noted way back in the old days, who was noted for like trying 15 cases a year. I remember talking to him once, and he said, you know, when I'm in trial, everything else falls away, and all I have to think about is what's in trial and nothing else. But there's a compulsion to it. Like, I'm going to hide from myself by working so hard. It's a type of addiction, to be honest. And I think a lot of trial lawyers have it. That, you know, I'm not really comfortable and at peace just sitting and being with myself. So I'm just going to keep adding another trial on and another trial. And I certainly was on that treadmill for decades, and it's not healthy, doesn't make you a better trial lawyer. You take one to trial and you win. All your other cases now have more value. You can bet the insurance companies watch this stuff. They keep score. So you take that case to trial and you lose, all your other cases still increase in value because they know you're someone willing to take a case to trial.